This day 866 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. This Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is sponsored for a schus for Chag Kosher B'Sameach for all Klal Yisrael and a schus for Hatzlach and Shiduchim. May it Ziv be oil Yofe in Be'agefen bin Be'agefen. Today we're supposed to be doing Siman Tav Kuf Nun Tes Siv Tes the Kuf Samech Ches, but we did Tav Kuf Nun Tes Tes in order to finish the Siman in our previous year. So we're going to start now from Tav Kuf Samech Sif Aleph. And we're going to, B'T Hashem, go through the Ches, which should bring us to the end of the Siman. Tav Kuf Samech, Lasso Zeichel Churban, to make a commemoration for the Churban Beis HaMikdash. So Ber Gimel Basar Shnei Shlosh Brisos. And the Cheskes Zabatim, the three brises. We show the first one, Em Esaydin Ben Mechayim Ben Pfeichim Bizman Hazeh. You can make these internal decorations in your house, plastering and sculpting, Pfeichim, some sort of other internal decoration. If you bought the chutzner which has these decorations, or is a cheskasa, it can remain the way it is. Nafla, if it fell, ain't close the so you can't rebuild it that way. Bachi Berusha. Doesn't mean to say, Elohim buys beseed lavon. You don't make a house with white plaster. Because in morning you don't make sculpt figures into that plaster. Some people say that this is plaster, but it's really super white. And on the other, also you don't put in colored designs in the walls. Now, when you bought it that way, but rather it was made that way before the Churban. Well, if that's the case, that's what we're doing correctly. It doesn't matter to us because we're not buying stuff which is made for the Churban. As base, so a person should not plaster his house if you put into the plaster straw or sand, evidently because that changes the color. Base, time base on Mishchar base and Bais, once the base of Midrash is destroyed, road, Persian Misuro, many people are to abstain, not to eat meat nor drink wine. Rabbi Yeshua came and remonstrated with them. He said, Banai, Bova Marlachem, my children, let me come and tell you. Not to eat Sabel is impossible. Yisabel is right to be overly mournful, Yevshar is also impossible. Kachim said, to do things with a measure. Start Adam as base of the seed, Mashayr Bodam for more. A person plasters his house with plaster and leaves something a little bit over. Kama, how much you leave over? Amma. And Amma on an Amma connected at Pesach and opposite the doorway. In order to sustain all the brises shouldn't argue with each other. This seems to be quite clearly to be the matter. The brise Shana says the first brise forbids you to use plaster. The second price permits you, but if you mixed in sand or straw. The first one price also is that way. But we didn't mix in the straw or the sand or the straw. However, in such a manner, if we didn't mix in sand or straw, answer shir klal, you don't have to leave anything over. Ubraisa shlish, the third brisa, the matzah shir amo, which requires leaving over an amo, which is unfinished. So below eruv chol oteven is when you don't put in any sand or straw. Okay, because I'm still showing us what the one writes. We're going to see now beside us based on besiv v'ushayr bodavar mort mashashim ir b'chol oteven ain't so l'shayr. If you put in sand or straw, you don't have to leave anything over. Akan l'shono. Okay, because I'm mukayetz b'abaz shom zel shon also writes ire bo. Home, if you put it left in sand, mix in sand, mutzim nation mashur says because it makes it a bit darker. Chaygav the answer shir amma. In this situation, you don't need a leave over an amma. Shir amma, I feel see gomer mutzar. If you leave over an amma, even if using completely white plaster, it's still okay. Hakal shano. Ufi down. Pisa yeshno limot schus robi so she'eni tzar mata bedin zel shar amma, which is starting besid chosei bais. Most people do not leave over an amma by an amma one undone. What do I know? In the plaster they mix so much sand it's almost half. Came Dean Gomer ain't so sheer cloud. According to Shukla, you don't need to lead anything over at all. Papi Sharif Rosh V'chein Rambam Batul Shalom Lo Yavi Rak They only bring the last brisa to leave. Lo Chashul Arich didn't get into great detail. Avogam Divrei Mishmar came, but also going to, in their perspective, we can also say the ear of Kol Ein Shir that if you added sand, you don't have to leave anything over. Vraya Brura evidence for this is Sharei Aran V'Nimukas and the Far Sharif. V'Nimukas explain the Rif. These are the She'eno Kein Das Rif. They don't. That's not the case. The ruling of the Rif. Echles Kiruz Zeh has not mentioned this. Elabadi Kidmain must be like we're saying is correct. The Brad says to them, but Yesis Kirkin Zeh by Shevsem Sila Bachtam Machalakov Elan Sham. Pach seems to argue with Miana Lamis Kirzeh Klab Shulchan Aruch, and also when not mentioned on Shulchan Aruch with Tzarich Il. Mr. Brewer says that there's a machlokes in our day and age. People do not leave on Amma, perhaps because they rely on those who lean. Nevertheless, it's astonishing because we do whiten our houses with plaster. Perhaps it's talking about a specific type of plaster, which is called goops. I think it's gypsum, which is very white. It's also as opposed to our plaster, but all this is doichak, and it's on why people are noig heter. As man said, we find our people who are machmir to leave an Amma. Hey, V'zela Shor Rabbeinu B'Yisrael Sifah Mishchar Beis Hamikdash once the Beis Hamikdash destroyed Tiknu Chacham Shoyu Bosador Shu Bosador Shem Banim B'Olam Binyan Mesud Mechlir Klamar Mitzur B'Ginyan Melachim. You don't mean build a building which is plastered and sculpted. In other words, like the palace of a king. Al Tach Beis B'Tit V'Sa B'Sid waterproof your house with pitch, and you plaster Mishar Amma Keneged Pesach, and you leave an Amma by an Amma opposite the opening below seat without plaster. Some of you buys a chutzah which is already Mesuyar Mechiyares of Cheskasa. Even sounds like even after Beis Hamikdash destroyed it happened, but you bought it that way. Then you don't have to peel the walls. The Shabbat says that we assume that a non-Jew made it that way, and even if he bought it from a Jew, he bought it from the non-Jew did it that way. If, however, a Jew made it be'issa that way, then you do have to peel off an Amma by an Amma. All this is when it's exit. But if it fell, even though the first time was in the hand of the non-Jew, when you rebuild it, you have to leave over that Amma. Avulashon around back to the Rishon. V'umlashon Ram. All this lashon the Rambam Pesach Pekei Tanis Einsham. First, the Mitzir also the Gamre. The Rambam says that if it's plastered and sculpted, it's completely also. But Tuchel was into Argus Einsham. Mashkas of Tach Petita, which he says that you can line it with pitch. Yishkan said we go so. That was perhaps his version of the Gemara. Beis Knesset, Beis Medrash. Ain't so sheer because the shul or Beis Medrash don't have to leave anything over. Smoking Abraham. The pesach who connect mabish. In our house, it was not possible to do that, so it's right next to the door. But it means literally opposite the door. Connecting the pesach, but mitzvah if the opening is on the east, circle as those dafka kois Mario to make on the west wall. Bishul said bekab bakosa shel pesach shamla ma'al pesach and klum. So it makes it above the doorway. It's nothing. Mishabur says some people do leave above the doorway, something on high, but it's not seen till people come in. Perhaps it's the Baal Bais, so he's sitting should see it, because he normally sits opposite the wall, which is the opening of the house, which is in fact the case in our house. So the Mishabur is mitzadeh that there is a possibility to say that above the door on the same side of the door is sufficient. Many posts can say that it doesn't help to darken an amma by an amma, but you have to leave specifically something with no plaster. Say the mashkir, but you do make it darker. Since we know that this is the way we make a heker for a churban, what difference does it make if it's done this way or that way? Shul write that even though there are places where they make it dark and they write it zechel churban, and even though no, not even though there are places where they make it dark and write it zechel churban, even though there's some people machmir, nevertheless can't put that against some killing who hold that sufficient. Some people have a wall hanging which says zechel churban. Chaim Dabkim al Ksoin near Yofish going a bias and put a wallpaper, Gankin Shar Amo, they should leave an Amo, or Shemaka make a place dark. Fragasan the Siege Lono ain't so clue we already said within our plaster, though we don't need anything because our plaster is already dark. Somebody who's setting a table for guests to make a suda for them. Leaves the place open without one of the plates which is suitable to put there. And you leave out some cooked dish as a sign of the korban. We don't know how that works. Because it's difficult for us to understand what it means to do blank place. When a person makes her silver and gold jewelry, she leaves off one of the pieces of jewelry she customarily wears. So it's not to wear all his jewelry her jewelry at once. When a chassan gets married, he takes simple ashes, nice and brush, and puts in his head tefillin. And place where they normally put on tefillin. That's why makam efer makle by us instead of putting on the ashes. The minhag is lishbor a coast to break a cup b'shas a chuppah time the chuppah. Or sumat b'shchol shar d'vareveus b'shal chassan. Or I've never seen this, to put black mat or some other sign of aveus at the head of the chassan. So even though the breaking of the cup really is done based on the Gemara brachas in order to prevent an exuberance of simcha, the Arukh HaShulchan identifies it as a zeichel churban and says that it suffices in lieu of the ashes which were once done. All these things are to remember Yerushalayim. It says, if I forget Yerushalayim, if I not put Yerushalayim over the top, over the head on my simcha. The tanukim lo nesurak tanuk sheish bo simcha. So the pleasures are not also only a pleasure that has simcha. And you have to make a recognition for the simcha. I guess when you make a pleasure, you have pleasure, you don't have to make a korban. Only when you have a simcha, then you have to make a heker. Locha writes on this entire sif, tzarachim, because none of this seems to be applicable with manazeh. I'm not sure why not. We do, certainly the cup we do. And with people, some people even sing me. It's a big one. So there's a gzeira not to use musical instruments, all sorts of music and all sorts of instruments which make music in order to rejoice in them. Also, you're not allowed to listen to them because of the churban. Shneimah says, "Al tiksmachi so gilkami." Do not rejoice in Israel to entertainment like the nations. Some say the dafka mishin ragab is also just only somebody who's accustomed to this is also going on. Sarim shoni b'shonim share like a nobleman who could go to sleep and rise up to the accompaniment of music. Chem b'beis mishta also. So to in a bar or a party, it's also in a simcha shel mitzvah unless it's simcha shel mitzvah. And then a bar or party. Even if it's not a custom, it's also. But for the purpose of mitzvah, come base chas and kala, such as the chas and kala. How come everything's mutter? But even there, it shouldn't be overly happy. It's one on Yerushalayim. This minute, not using musical instruments even by a chasna, just a drum and a singer. But that minute has become more and more eroded over the years because we don't know how to be misamech nowadays without music. Mishmur says even verbal singing is also if it's on wine. Bapas is even without wine, verbal singing is also because when it says this is only song which are sung in order to get people to work better are permitted, but some which is just for entertainment is also. So obviously we're not this machmir nowadays, or we say that all our simchas are simchas shamitzvah. Mutter mitzvah smach with simchas Torah. Person makes a siyum, it's a mutter and a mitzvah to be samech and simchas Torah. Because everybody says you give the Quran nagel koisel my dibei tishbachos or shir shel odos v'zivna chasav shel kashbachol yain. Oh, who's talking the whole time here? I guess the Beis Yosef. She's going to Beis Yosef. That the minhag of all of Am Yisrael is to say praises or and song or thanks and remember Chasam Hashem on wine. On Kol Shal Kol Merchai Gavna. Meaning, if that's what you're doing, I feel besides to use the music. Brack says, "Ayin Tazim Gavram Shisro Risramu." They're really upset. Mashim Shloim Dvarim Shlo B'Shaiton. and those who sing not at the right time. In Trump, nowadays we're really make on this. I guess we consider the Miami Boys Choir or Shlomo Carlebach or Mordechai Ben David or Avram Fried are an impetus for our greater avodas Hashem. Okay, because it may. Mishabur writes in Likutei Mariel says it's not appropriate those who sing at a feast, orcha kenisoni, etc., for the purpose of just convivial happiness, but in a shul for Yom Tov, etc., that is certainly a mitzvah to sing all those parts of the davening. They decreed that crowns of chasayim should be put at all. Should not put any type of crown on his head. It says, remove the hat and uplift the crown. Also the crowns of the kala. Imhu shel kesef is made of silver. Ava shel gdil, but if some sort of foliage, mutakal, that's okay. Other people, there's no prohibition. We have no clue what these crowns are because they don't apply to us. They're not customary to us. Person not allowed to fill his mouth with laughter in this world. Because laughter and frivolity bring a person to a prohibited licentious behavior. Even in the base of Mikdash, this is when you're involved in this frivolous behavior for an extended period with other people. But just laughing. It's not a problem. Pashu does the Shmuel Zemer Isha, there's no Kiruv La Rayos. It's lost in there. It's also listen to women singing because that brings you close to Arayos and prohibited thoughts and behavior.